Truth.
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 Welcome to Trusting the Truth with Samuel Tolley, where we view the world through the lens of Jesus Christ. We do not view Jesus Christ through the lens of the world. How you doing? This is Sam Tolley with Trusting the Truth. And today I want to ask the question, does America want Islamic culture? And this is part one of a series. You know, we have Mondani, the new mayor of New York City, and we have a couple of Congress people that are Muslims, and we have Muslims sprinkled throughout the nation, and a lot of them are in places like Michigan and Minneapolis. And the news media tries to talk glowingly about them. But does America want Islamic culture to permeate itself throughout our nation? Do we want to change what was originated as a Christian nation with Judeo-Christian values to an Islamic one? That's the question we need to ask ourselves, because Islam, when it comes to a nation, it doesn't come to coexist. It comes to take over. Christianity, by virtue of the gospel of Jesus Christ, wants to encourage people to change their ways. Islam, on the other hand, desires to force you to change your ways and accept them as the true religion. Now, we had a former president, President Obama, who came into office very pro-Islam. And I want to show you this clip, what this former president had to say.
We are no longer a Christian nation.
We do not consider ourselves a Christian nation.
The United States has been enriched by Muslim Americans. Since our founding, American Muslims have enriched the United States. Islam has always been a part of America's story. There is a mosque in every state in our union and over 1,200 mosques within our borders. Let there be no doubt, Islam is a part of America.
Well, President Obama, first, in this clip, he states that we're no longer a Christian nation and Islam has enriched America. Well, that's an argument for another day. I don't want to go into that because I don't think that's the case at all. But that's not what I want to talk about in this particular episode of Trusting the Truth. I want to talk about the culture of marriage in Islam, the culture that they have in other parts of the country, the world. Now, many naive Christians, particularly people that I think, came up with some nonsense like Chrislam or some mess. I remember Steve Harvey made a clip where he was trying to put the two together, and it's theologically impossible. Even a Muslim will tell you that. But nevertheless, Muhammad, the prophet, the originator, he married a six-year-old child. I think it was named Aisha. I may have pronounced her name wrong. He married her at age 6 and consummated the marriage at age 9. Now, in this country, that's called pedophilia. I mean, plain and simple. But in many parts of the world, right now, Muslims are doing the very same thing. Look at this clip. Overgrown There was a time when I would have said grown blank men with these children. And these people celebrating it like it's a very nice thing. You know, we got these different areas in the country where they bring out this Sharia law. Matter of fact, I think I neglected to put up a clip that I wanted to. Oh, no, I didn't. I'm going to show you this clip. Take a look at this. Look at this. Pakistan. A Muslim man kidnapped 13-year-old Christian girl Maria and held her captive for 6 months. He raped her, forced her to convert to Islam, and married her. When her father reported the abduction, the Sharia court ruled in favor of granting custody to the kidnapper. Isn't that something? This guy gets and she was a Christian. It wasn't like he went and kidnapped some Muslim. He kidnapped a Christian girl. And the father and the mother, the parents, they had to deal with this Sharia law that allowed this man to take their daughter, rape her, and marry her and keep her against her will and against their will. This is Islam. You know, you may say that this type of activity doesn't happen everywhere, but it certainly happens sometime in Pakistan. I mean, this is horrible, people. This is horrible. You can just sit over there and take possession of a young child, and the parents have no recourse. And like I said, they got Sharia courts, you know, springing up throughout the United States. Now, people will say, well, no, and the Muslims will probably say, well, people can come to there voluntarily. Well, if your whole community is centered around this particular religion and your community is all closely knitted, people are in your community are going to expect you to abide by the community unless you want to get kicked out of the community or be ostracized or even called a kofar, a kafar, whatever they call it when they refer to people that are unbelievers. So if you have a Sharia court in an Islamic community, the people are going to be compelled to go to it, just like they would be compelled to do anything else that that particular community demands. And so when they got these things springing up all over the country and then they're saying that they will help lighten the load of the judicial system, that's a danger. Just like it is in England. They got a bunch of those courts. And matter of fact, I heard that places in England, particularly in places in France, they have no-go zones where the police won't even go in there because of the Islamic rule. Does America want that? Do we want to subject ourselves to Sharia law? Do we want our little girls to become wives, prepubescent little girls? And just to let you know that this isn't a one-off, here's a video of a 12-year-old who they're trying to force to marry a 62-year-old. And she doesn't want to do it. Look at this. mean, that is disgusting. This child don't don't want nothing to do with what they're forcing on her. What kind of parents would do this? What kind of people would tolerate this? What kind of society indulges and accepts this? Well, the Islamic society does. American culture doesn't. And we should not allow that type of culture to infest us. We have enough problems. We have too many problems as they are, and to accept pedophilia as one of them. That is dangerous, that is ungodly, that is satanic, and we should have absolutely nothing to do with it. Nothing. Islam is not for the United States of America. Islam needs to be, well, it needs to be nowhere, but it definitely doesn't need to be here. So that was a 12-year-old girl who was from, I believe, the Islamic group. They didn't want anything to do with it. But I got another clip, and this one is of a 13-year-old Christian orphan who they're trying to marry off to this 40-year-old guy. And she's terrified. And this guy, in that culture, because she rejects him, wants her dead. Look at this. Now, what kind of people are these? What kind of monster is going to force himself on a child? And then when the child is terrified and wants nothing to do with him, he's going to go grab his what? AK-47 or whatever the heck that thing is. And he want to put her out of her misery. This is Islam. Is this the culture that we want to incorporate in the United States of America? We got to quit. We got to get past these naive people. You know, we have what I call ignorant folk. We have people that don't think, don't study, don't investigate, listen to the news media, and accept whatever dribble these folks are saying. And then we got folks that just, you know, they work hard, they're trying to take care of their family. They're not getting involved in society or the community or whatever. They think their kids are okay. They don't realize that there's many schools that are teaching Islam to their children, talking about how great it is. But besides that, and the LGBTQ and all this other nonsense. So they're just going along, just trying to get along, go to work, come home, you know, have a few beers, maybe smoke a joint or whatever, and relax. You know, they're tired. They worked all day. They don't want to deal with it. But this stuff is trying to creep in America. They're trying to build up their own little cities like they were trying to build up in Texas, and I think they still are. You know, they're taking over Dearborn, Michigan, and what is it, Hamtramck or some other kind of place? You know, Minneapolis, besides the fact of all this Somali mess, these people are like a cancer. When I say like a cancer, I'm talking about the culture. The culture does not fit the United States. Now, people might say, oh, that's awful. You're saying that Muslims are a cancer. Well, you try to go to Saudi Arabia and open up a church. You know, before all the hell broke loose last week, you go to Iran and open up a church. You go to Afghanistan and say, gee, you know what? We're going to start a Christian church here. You go to many of these places, they can say, no, we're not having it. We're not having any Christianity here. Why? Because it's a cancer to us. They won't have it because they think that they have the truth, and they will not tolerate a contrary opinion on the theology of who God is. So don't come at me because I say Islam is a cancer in the United States, regardless of what President Obama had to say. But I just showed you how they treat children, little girls. Now, I didn't get into boys. There's a thing. Boy, I didn't have time for that one today. Maybe on the next one, we'll talk about some of the things that some of these Muslims do with boys. But I want to talk about women, grown women. What do Muslims really think about women? When you see these women with their hijabs on and their face all covered up in their hair and all this stuff, you know, they look all nice and quiet and, you know, I mean, it look like, no, I assume, excuse me, we can't hardly see those people, but you just assume they're just normal people. Maybe that woman that was trying to hold down that little girl, maybe that might make you a little, you know, trepid. But what does Muslims think about women? I want to show you this clip where this imam is talking about women. Now, in the clip, I think he's talking Farsi or whatever language it is. And they have captions. So I'm going to stop throughout the clip to read the caption. But I thought it was important for you to hear him as he's saying what he has to say about women. This is interesting.
خداوند تبارک و تعالی.
Okay, he said this first one, there is a section of animals created by God serve. At least that's what it's reading here.
چند قسم حیوان خلق کرده. یک قسم.
Okay, there is a section of animals created by God.
حیوان خلق کرده برای اینکه مردم وسیله سفر باشه براشون. اسب، شتر، این حیوانات چارپاست که مردم ازش استفاده میکنن برای سفرهاشون. این یک قسم حیوانه.
There is another section of animals created by.
یک قسم حیوان خدا خلق کرده که وسیله غذای مردمه. و اون مثل گاو و گوسفنده که خدا اینها را خلق کرده برای اینکه وسیله غذای مردم باشه. و یک قسم.
Okay, I got a problem here. I'm gonna have to fix this. So what I'm gonna do is pause this. Okay, let's listen to the Grand Ayatollah Shirazi and what he has to say about women. Check this out.
خداوند تبارک و تعالی چند قسم حیوان خلق کرده. یک قسم.
Let me slow down here for a second. So there is a section of animal created by God service as a vehicle for people such as horses and camels. Okay. I'm not going to argue with the grand Ayatollah on that.
آن خلق کرده برای اینکه مردم وسیله سفر باشه براشون. اسب، شتر، این حیوانات چارپاست که مردم ازش استفاده میکنن برای سفرهاشون. این یک قسم حیوان.
Okay, here's the next section of the Grand Ayatollah. There is another section of animals created by God to provide food for humans such as cows and sheep. Okay, so we had, did I say, well, I hope I didn't say it. Anyway, the first section we were talking about horses and camels as far as getting around. I might have said donkeys, I think, nevertheless. And that made sense, particularly out there in the desert. Camels can travel a lot further than a donkey or a horse. And here he's talking about, okay, cows and sheep for people to eat. So, I don't have an issue with what the Ayatollah is saying at all right there. But let's get on and see what he has to say about our female friends.
یک قسم حیوان خدا خلق کرده که وسیله غذای مردمه و اون مثل گاو و گوسفنده که خدا اینها را خلق کرده برای اینکه وسیله غذای مردم باشه و یک قسم
Okay, and women are a kind of animal created by God. Well, if you want to go with the generic term of animal, meaning a creature of flesh, okay, we can say man is an animal from that perspective. So far, it's not too bad, but go ahead.
خلق کرده و اون زنها و خانمها هستن. اینا
Whoa. Women are like cows and sheep. So God created them for the use of man. Well, in the Bible, in Genesis, it says, it's not good for man to be alone. And God created woman out of man's rib. He created woman to help man, to complement man. So right here, me and Ayatollah got a big problem. I mean, if this is what Muhammad and the Quran is teaching, that women are to be used by men, and I don't know too many women that like being used. Let's see what else he has to say.
گاو و گوسفند هستن، حیوان هستن، ولکن و خدا خلقشون کرده برای استفاده مردها، فقط واسه که
Whoa. Triple whoa. Look at what the Ayatollah says. In reality, women are like animals, but God created women in the form of mankind so that men do not feel terrified. That's what the man said. This is one of the religious leaders of Islam. So you women, Islamic women, are nothing more than animals to these people.
مردا وحشت نکنن، این زنها را به شکل خود انسان خلق کرده.
Look at all these women listening to this guy, and they got their black on, and they're like, you guys are nothing. You're about the same as the horses and the camels and the cows and the sheep. The only difference is we don't eat you, we ride you, but we don't eat you.
نه اینها عین همون گاو و گوسفند و عین همون اسب و شتر و الاغ هستن.
Wow. I mean, this, like I said, is this the kind of culture you want in the United States? Is this what American women want to look forward to? Is this what they want to present throughout our nation and get rid of Christianity? Well, I want to show you what you can expect as a bride in some of these Islamic cultures. I want you to look at this brand new bride in the wedding celebration. See what her husband does when he removes the veil, and look or listen for the reaction of the bridal party, the people that came to celebrate with them. Check this out. That is worth watching one more time. Let's look at this again. Come on. Why is this thing not? I want to repeat this. Here we go. I don't even have words for that. I mean, in this country, we call that domestic violence. I mean, he removed her veil and promptly slapped her. She hadn't done anything. And everybody was applauding. So I guess wherever that was, based on that particular section or segment of Islam, women need to, when they get married, look to get your behind beaten. I ain't even talking about the little girls. I'm talking about a grown woman getting beat by her husband. But that's not a one-off. Beating women, just like the Ayatollah said, women are an animal, and they treat them like animals. They treat them like they're not important. They treat them like dogs. Look at this guy. This guy is in this room. I don't know what it is with these women, and you look at his eyes. He looks like he looks possessed to me. Look what he does. You know, I think the women are possessed too. This guy had this wild, open look on his face. You know, so everybody's into this mindset. I mean, I don't even beat my dogs the way these people act. Matter of fact, I never beat my dogs. I would train them, but I treated my dogs better than I've seen these people treat these women. And I ask this again, is this the kind of culture we want in this nation? A nation that was built on a Judeo principle foundation, a nation in which women have equal rights as men. You know, I heard that in Islam, if a woman was to get raped, she needs 4 male witnesses to testify in her favor. I mean, you know, where are you going to get that at? You know, so that's one reason why I guess they make sure that they're not out alone or without a company of a relative that's a man, you know, because, you know, you're going to get it. You know, like many of these young girls have been getting raped in the United Kingdom because of all these illegals that they've allowed in that country. And when we've allowed all these people in here, and like I said, it's like an infestation. These people are not trying to assimilate. They are trying to take over. And if we allow them to take over, then the United States that we know will no longer exist. We need to recapture our nation. We need to stay in control of our nation and make sure it is still the United States of America, not the United States of Islam. Now, I got one more clip I want to show you. I've shown you children getting married to grown men, supposedly. Pedophiles on the loose. I showed you the bride celebrating her wedding by getting smacked upside the face. You know, a couple of little girls being forced into relationship. One of them was a Christian. She wouldn't want to marry no Muslim, but they didn't care. In an article about another girl that just, I think she was a Christian too, that just got kidnapped. They don't care. They're going to make you do what they want you to do. And then this man, this possessed joker, run around beating the snot out of a couple of women, about 2 or 3 women. Well, I got one more where several men take it upon themselves to beat this woman. It took at least 3 men to beat a helpless woman. This is Islam. This is the culture they want to spread around the world. This is the religion, as W used to say, the religion of peace. This something that we want in the United States of America? I don't think so. I think this is evil. I think this is demonic. I think this is beyond child abuse and spousal abuse. I mean, this seemed like something straight from Satan's laboratory. And there's no way, and I agree wholeheartedly with Muslims on this, there is no way that Islam and Christianity are compatible. None. Only one of them going to, in the end, will survive. Either Christianity or Islam. Just like back in the days of the Crusades, when the Muslims was trying to take over Europe and the Europeans fought back. Well, now the Muslims are taking over Europe again. The Europeans aren't doing anything. They're acquiescing. They're giving up. They're allowing these people to come in there and just take over their countries, except for places maybe like Poland, where they're saying we're not going to have it. It's time for America to recognize, if you want to keep our Constitution, if you want to keep our freedom of religion, if you want to keep our inherited Christian values, we're going to have to put a stop to this. We're going to have to, I'm not saying to kick the Muslims out of the country. I'm saying that if these people want to have their religion, so be it. But we can't allow these people to start changing our laws. We can't allow these people to start running our governments. We cannot allow these people to get power in this country. Because this country that we have, we call the United States of America, would end up becoming the United States of Islam. And nobody's going to have that. This is Sam Tolley, and I'm out.